Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Becky Robinson, and I am thrilled to be here today with Donzel Leggett, and we will be getting started in a few minutes. Hey, Donzel, how's it going?
It's going wonderful. I'm very excited about today.
I am too. There's so much richness and inspiration in your new book, Make Your Destiny Happen. And so we
Oh,
will be
thank you.
getting started in a few minutes. But before we do so, I do want to let our participants know about a few technical considerations for today's event. So, first of all, we would love to connect in this inclusive community with you. And the chat is a great place for you to get to know each other and interact throughout today's event. We do want to welcome you to say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. And if you happen to be calling in from an organization and taking this webinar as part of your professional development, we'd be happy to see where you're calling in from, what organization you represent, and I'll try to give you a shout out as I see that in the chat. So hi to Gary in Orange, California. And I'll look for some others of you to go ahead and type in the chat. Also, if it would be helpful to you today to have this event translated or to have English captions in the bottom of your Zoom panel, you do have the ability to turn on those captions if that will help your learning on today's event. So let's see, we've got folks. Oh, wow. Lots of people chatting now. Someone calling in from Poland, from
Mm,
Barcelona, Spain, from Rochester, Minnesota, Dallas, Texas. Someone representing the Florida Department of Children and Families. We've got some folks in Minneapolis, maybe fans of yours from your days there. Denver, Colorado, Lubbock, Texas, Pismo Beach, Houston, Texas, more Minnesota, California. Hey, Farmington Hills, Michigan. That is not too far from me. So thanks to all of you who are calling in. I see someone in Canada. And just a shout out to, let's see, this is a company in Minnesota, Twin Cities Rise in Minneapolis.
mhm,
And we also have a company called Photonics represented today and a company called Troutman in North Carolina. So thanks to all
mhm.
of you. It's great to have you with us. We will have some time later in the event for Q&A. So please feel free at any point to post your questions. And when we get to that portion of the event, we'll be happy to have your questions for Donzel. So before we get any further, I do want to tell you a bit about my friend Donzel Leggett. He has over 3 decades of experience leading global teams at Fortune 200 companies. And Donzel is now the principal at Destiny Development Delta LLC, and he specializes in executive leadership development. Donzel is someone who's known for his strategic vision and mentorship. And Donzel founded the Anti-Racism Commitment Coalition and has served on influential boards, including the International Youth Foundation. So another exciting thing about Donzel, if you're looking behind him, you can see that football with the Purdue P. Donzel is a proud Purdue graduate and a former academic All-American football player. And Donzel splits his time between Florida, which is Key West, right, and
Mhm.
Chicagoland with his wife, Tracy. So welcome, Donzel. And of course, we're here today to talk about Donzel's first book, Make Your Destiny Happen.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if you've read the book, tell me in the chat. I'd love to know. All right. We are also recording today's event, and we will make this recording available in the event that you would like to share it with friends, colleagues, or to watch it again yourself. So we would love to get to know you a little bit this morning, and we have a poll to get to know you with, and I'm going to launch that. We'd love to have your feedback. So when you think about your own destiny and future, which of these feels most true for you right now? I'm just beginning to think about my future and what I want to create. I have faced challenges and I'm working on turning them into opportunities. I'm seeking clarity on what success and legacy mean for me personally. I have a vision and I'm building daily habits to make it real. I feel energized and ready to take intentional control of my destiny. So thanks to those who are answering, and I'll give you a few moments and then I will show you those results. So I know, Donzel, as I was reading your book, one of the things that stood out to me is the way that you differentiated between having a plan and hope, having hope but no plan, and having no hope and no plan. So it seems like we're asking people to get to know where they stand with those three.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think
You
it's
did a
an
really good job
intriguing
of making
poll.
that so memorable.
Very intriguing poll.
Yes, I will share the results in just a moment. I'm going to give you a couple more seconds to answer. All right, so let's take a look at those results. It looks like the answer that was most frequently chosen was tied. So we have some folks on today's call. A third of you say you face challenges and you're working on turning them into opportunities. And another third of you are saying, I feel energized and ready to take intentional control of my destiny. So those are some powerful poll results. And, I think that by the end of today, um, hopefully, people will have even more inspiration and tools to move toward their destiny. And let's start
Mhm.
with that word destiny, Donzel, because as I was reading your book, I was really struck by what destiny is and what destiny isn't. So I'm curious for you to share with those who may not have read your book about how you define destiny and what that really means to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here and seeing so many people who are coming from all over the country and even different parts of the world on the webinar. Thank you all for joining, taking time out of your day. Sometimes this word destiny, we get kind of this mindset because it's been ingrained in us that sometimes it's predetermined. And that's typically how we hear the word. It's a predetermined path, and it's not really based on decisions that you make. And our definition of destiny is really something that's within your control, your agency, based on decisions that you make every second of every day, and how those decisions impact where you're going and what you want to do. And I believe that it all starts with having a plan that's truly authentic to you, that determines what you want in life. And look, I'm real. I'm a realist, and I understand that things happen. Things can happen. I know that I'm going to travel today. That could be my very last trip. I know that I could take my last breath any second. I understand that, but my view is I would rather be on a path toward a destiny that I chose for myself when that happens, if it happens. And I'm going to plan that if it doesn't happen, that I'm going to continue to move forward. And I look at it like, again, every second is an opportunity for me to take advantage of. I don't want those seconds to tick by with me not taking advantage of those opportunities. I kind of think a little bit like if you've seen the musical Hamilton. There's a part in there where they talk about he feels like that he's going like he's running out of time. I kind of feel like I'm running out of time, and so every day I'm trying to maximize my efforts and my time to go after the destiny that I want for myself because I'm passionate about it. And what I hope to do with this book is for you to identify the destiny that you want for yourself that's truly authentic to you, that you build a plan and that you transform your leadership to make it happen. If you're on that path to make it happen, whether you get there or not, I guarantee you your holistic well-being and how you feel about life will be so much better.
Thanks so much. You know what stood out to me, and I want to read this from page 4 of your book. When you refer to destiny, it's not what others want for you, but what you want for yourself. And, you mentioned in the book, Donzel, that you kind of grew up thinking that your destiny was to be an NFL football player. And then
Mhm.
at some point in your journey, you realized that was what other people wanted for you and not what you wanted for yourself. And that was when you started to create a plan for your life. And, I found that to be such a powerful reminder that destiny is what you want for yourself. Um,
Absolutely. And I just want to say that matters so much because one of the key roadblocks to achieving your destiny is having the passion and the discipline to do the little things every day to make it happen. You run out of steam, you get diverted. And it's easy, especially if the destiny that you have in mind is something that really you don't really want authentically. If you really want it authentically, you're going to find a way to break through. You'll find a way to do that extra little bit. You'll find a way geez, I don't really want to do this today, but it'd be good if keep me on track. So having that authentic fire burning inside you that you really, really want, that's what keeps you moving forward. And that's what I was missing. That's what I missed. I didn't quite understand it until I got to a breaking point, decision point I had to make. And I realized I didn't really want it that bad. I wanted something else. So, you know what's better for me to move on from that, go after what I truly wanted. And again, I hope all of you identify what is it that you truly want. Not what your parents wanted for you, not what you think that I said, what you want for yourself, and go after that.
Well, what I love about your book, Donzel, is that you share your story in such a real way. And although we could look at you and you have a very successful life, you have had a successful life. What I love is that you admit that you have had sometimes that you've quit, sometimes that you failed, sometimes that you've lost. I wonder, Donzel, for those who are listening, could you talk about the role that those kind of um, barriers or challenges, how those have influenced your continuing to go toward the vision that you have, the destiny that you have for your life?
Thank you for that. I think it's important for us to recognize that we're not perfect and we're not going to always do the right things. The question is, what do we do when we make mistakes? What do we do when we do sometimes give up? What do we do when we do lose? And I have a great friend of mine. His name is Tommy Fung, and Tommy taught me this Chinese character called Wei Chi, and basically what it means is for every crisis there's an opportunity. For every crisis there's an opportunity if you take advantage of it. But you have to embrace. And so I willingly admit I quit. I have my Purdue footballs back there, but I did quit. I have to admit that. I lost and I failed. I have a menu up here. You can see it. It's a menu of a restaurant that I started in my hometown of Key West, Florida. And I put tremendous amount into that. Engaged my mom to help us with the recipe. We spent months building the recipes and a whole year of a startup plan, a build up plan. We put everything into it, but eventually it failed. But I have it up there as a reminder that out of that failure, out of me quitting, those were turning points and opportunities for me to learn. I learned from quitting that I need to find what authentically I wanted to do and then put a plan around it, as you said, to move forward. I learned from that failure of that business that there was some key mistakes that I made. I could have cried, I could have given up, and I could have said, you know what, it's never going to work out. No, I said, I'm going to start other businesses based on those learnings. And I'm not going to cry about how much money I lost. I remember thinking to myself, wow, that was the most expensive MBA I could have gotten. Because I have an MBA, but this one, actually going through the process hands on of having a business, starting it up, doing all the work, putting all the energy in, and then having it not work out, um, and then taking those real world learnings and then put them into practice, correcting those mistakes. That was priceless. So yes, I've had losses, I've had failures, I've quit, but I immediately said those were gifts. Learn from them, do something different.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And if I can, I got to read from your book again. The section where you're talking about this, and we read it before everyone joined us. I have quit, but I am a tenacious perseverer. I have failed, but I am successful. I have lost, but I am a winner. And those really powerful statements that you're making, of being able to contrast, the negative things that happen with the positive resolve you have to keep moving forward in your life. So I know all of this led to the heart of your book, which is the destiny development model. And
Yeah.
you describe that as a breakthrough approach to taking intentional control of your future. Would you be willing to share with those who may not have been exposed to it yet, what the model is and why it's so effective for people who want to create the life and legacy that they desire?
Yes. So the Destiny Development Delta model is really made up of two components. The first component is a component we call the A attitudes of leadership. And it's basically a model of leadership values that help you transform your own personal leadership to take control of your life, to take the agency that you have and actually do something with it. Um, there's a lot of sort of leadership trainings and models and processes that I've been through, and so I have the experience of having gone through many of them and know what's differential. And what's differential about the A attitudes of leadership is that it's not geared to someone who's simply in business. Most of the leadership values models that have come out were based on business people, people who were successful in business or entrepreneurs or even athletes or things of that nature. What's ignored is that many of these people had unique circumstances that allowed them to get to where they are. I mean, Jeff Bezos had unique circumstances that allowed him to get to where he is. Elon Musk, same thing. All these guys, Bill Gates, they all had very unique circumstances. Most people do not have those unique circumstances, but the authors ignore them. They take these kind of values that they see that are similar around these people and they boil them down to one or two things. To me, it's very simple. Everyone has the ability to, and really responsibility to be the leader of their life. The A attitudes of leadership provide you with the tools to transform your leadership to be the leader of your life. The differentiator now of this model that's even greater is the second part of the Destiny Development Delta model, which is I lead change. The I lead change process is a roadmap that then helps you take this transformation of your leadership and then gives you steps to follow to now do something about it. It teaches you how to build a life plan and then how to continually build your skills to make that life plan a reality, how to recruit supporters, people who are passionate to help you, and how to give you the skills and confidence to help them to get to create this perpetual cycle of you activating your plan. That's the differentiator. A lot of these models, again, they'll teach you some concepts about leadership, help you around how do you transform. Again, they're not meant for everyone, which ours is. But what they don't do is then give you a roadmap to follow to do something about it. So our model, transform your leadership to take control, and then it gives you the actual roadmap to follow to do something and actually make your life plan happen.
Well, I'd love to dig into this a little bit deeper, Donzel. And one of the things that I loved about the book and the way that you bring these ideas to life is the stories that you shared. And an observation that I had, Donzel, is that you seem to be someone in your life who has figured out when there are difficult people how to kind of soften them or how to build a positive relationship when that didn't seem possible to others. I wonder if you could share some of that story with us and how that fits into the A attitudes of leadership.
Yes, it's really something that I had to come to realization of around the impact that I could have and then be willing to do something about it. When I played football, I didn't realize it, but a lot of my teammates really looked up to me. I didn't see it that way at the time. I just saw it as I'm a teammate. I need to be a good student. I need to be a role model and that kind of thing. And so I went about my business doing that. I didn't try to influence anyone. Um, I realized years later when a lot of my teammates would tell me how much they looked up to me and admired my leadership and admired how I was living and I realized I could have had a greater impact than I did. I could have probably helped our team be better if I would have used that influence to instead of us going out and partying saying, hey guys, let's go to the football office and watch some extra film and prepare for I didn't do stuff like that. I just kind of did it on my own. So as time went on and I heard those stories and I started my career, I realized that I could influence people simply by being myself, treating them with care, with love. And when you think about the attitudes, I talk about being authentic. I talk about being assured in yourself, but I also talk about being accessible to people and showing adoration to people, love. Go out of your way to find people. Go out of your way to go to them. Understand that not everyone is outgoing, and then show them love. Open yourself up and show them you care about them. And so I started practicing that, and it was authentic. It was just me wanting to care about people. So I ran into a lot of different people during my over the course of my career. A few of the stories I tell in the book, but many of them, were difficult people who pushed me away, who made me feel like they didn't want me around. But I didn't let that deter me. I continued to show them adoration and love, and I continued to be accessible to them. Not just, hey, my office is open. No, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to come in at 4 o'clock in the morning and spend time with you, even if you don't want me there. And what I found over time is that a lot of these folks had issues going on in their lives, had problems going on in their lives, and they didn't have the confidence or the trust to let other people in to help. But because I kept going, I persisted, even when they pushed me away. even when they made me feel like I wasn't wanted, even when I heard things about them that were very bad, I still kept going. And eventually the ice melted or the shell cracked. And all of a sudden, not only did I feel better because I was able to work with them and feel like we made a breakthrough, but all of a sudden you started seeing people say, wow, you allowed my true self to come out, or you gave me the confidence to do something I never thought I could do. And so I just feel like that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book is to help as many people as I can to find that they have the agency to make their destiny happen and feel good about themselves. What difference does it make to be successful if you're miserable? I want people to feel good about their lives. I want them to feel like not only are they on track, but they feel positive about who they are. And so that's kind of why I'm always trying to reach out, always trying to give of myself as much as I possibly can.
Well, and you say that in the book, the amazing impact that we can have if we choose to influence others in a positive way and how exponentially that influence can grow.
Yes.
I'd love to talk for a moment. Something that really stood out to me in the book was the idea that you share and the difference between change and transformation. And
Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and also talk about for those of us who might be on this call and want to transform our lives, how we go about doing that that's different than just making a change.
Yeah, a change is well, first of all, people talk about change and transformation interchangeably a lot of times, and we tend to mostly use the word change. But change is kind of going in a different direction. It's kind of like changing your hairstyle. It's I'm going to a good example is New Year's resolutions. I'm going to make a change, and I'm gonna do this thing, whatever it is, stop smoking, eat less, exercise more, you name it. Those are changes. You're still you're still the same person. You're just saying, I'm going to make an effort to do this thing differently. Um, 90% of the time, those resolutions fail, and they mostly failed in the first month to put in New Year's resolutions. So that's a great example of the difference between transformation. Transformation is saying, I'm going to change the essence of this thing. I'm going to change the essence of me. It's the example I use in the book is a chameleon kind of can change its colors. It can move from, if it's in the dirt, it usually is brown. If it's on a tree branch, it's brown. When it moves to the leaves of the tree, it'll turn green. Or it moves to grass, it turns green. It's a change because it's still a chameleon. It just changed colors. Whereas a caterpillar literally has to transform to something else, to a butterfly. Goes in a cocoon. When it emerges, it's now a butterfly. And so transformation for me, for a person, is, and it goes back to who are you? Really, really understanding and being comfortable with who you are. And then saying to yourself, I like who I am. I accept the warts that I have. We all have warts. We all have things we're not proud of. You got to accept them. You can't try to ignore them, pretend they're not there. Accept them. But also, what are the things I'm good at? Now, what is my brand? What am I all about? What do I want people to take away when they meet me? Whether they have a hour-long conversation or a 10-second conversation. And how do I use that to now be that person that I want to be, who I truly am? That is a transformation versus saying, I'm going to start talking differently. I'm going to start speaking to Becky more often. That's a change. I hadn't talked to Becky before. I'm going to talk to her more often. No, I'm going to transform myself from the inside out by getting to know who I am, believing in who I am, and using that transformation to now do things differently versus just saying I'm going to change my behaviors. I'm going to change who I am or bolster who I am so that the behaviors that I'm doing are authentic. That's the difference between change and transformation for a person.
That's really powerful. So change is something that, we can revert back to who we were before, and
Yes.
transformation is really truly something deep down that alters the way we are forever.
Change is the something we can come back from.
Mhm.
Transformation is a point of no return. And so when I transformed myself and said, I'm no longer the football player Donzel. I am now the leader Donzel who looks to influence people's lives in a positive way. There was no going back from that. And that led to even, I mean, this is one of the losses I talk about in the book. I decided to run for public office because people were asking me to role model and do something to help bring hope back. I decided to run. I didn't win. I lost. It was a very close election, and it was a tremendous sort of comeback story because we were predicted to lose big, and it was very close. But that decision cost me one of my ultimate career goals. My career goal is to be a C-suite executive. What that means is someone who's on the CEO's leadership team at a Fortune 500 company, one of the biggest companies in America. And by me deciding to run, that sent a message to leadership that I wasn't all in. And based on that, my career stopped. That decision probably cost me at minimum $5 million. Probably more, much more than that. But I'm going to say at minimum $5 million. So I lost the election. And I lost my career goal, but I'm happy. I'm happy because I made the right decision living on who I am authentically. I'm a leader who wants to help people. I want to help people achieve their goals. I want to represent those who can't represent themselves. And that's what I'm about. So that transformation that occurred stuck. It was a point of no return. I couldn't go back to I'm gonna do what I think's better for my career. No, I'm gonna do what's the right thing based on who I am.
Yeah, that's powerful. So, could we talk for a few minutes about the importance of balance and personal well-being? So, you have this model in the book where you talk about that, and I would love it if you would share with us more about that and how you bring that alive in your own life.
Yeah. So holistic balance I talk about, and that's having equilibrium across the mind, body, heart, and spirit. Having that balance is really important because when you're off and when you're skewed, it can bring you down. And I tell a story in the book on at one point in my life, and this is even after I transformed, I got so focused on trying to help people by being, in the plant all the time, helping people, whatever they needed, and building accelerating my career with my education that I stopped paying attention to my body and my health, and I gained like 80 pounds. And it took a wake up call for me to figure that out and to finally do something about that. And I did, and I was able to lose that weight, keep it off, and be healthy. But what I felt during that time is that I was losing my holistic balance and my personal well-being. They affect each other. Personal well-being is your state of happiness with life, your contentment with life. And although I was doing some good things, being, that I didn't feel good physically. And I knew that I was off kilter. I wasn't spending as much time with my family as I should have. So if you don't have good balance in your life, it's very difficult to be happy about life. So as you're striving to achieve your destiny, don't forget to make sure that you have balance in your life so that you can achieve happiness in your life. And so in the book, I talk about different things to focus on. It's not just about your mental well-being. It's also about your physical well-being, as I just mentioned. It's about your financial well-being as well. I think the statistic is something like 50% of marriages fail because of financial hardship. Not being on the same page with financials. So don't ignore your financial responsibilities. Um, Exercise your mind is another thing. Don't ignore your mind. People talk about that meditation is important. Meditation is important, but also just thinking, taking time to just think. Meditation is about achieving calmness, which is awesome. But you don't want to think about anything. We need that. But sometimes you do want to sit down by yourself and think about, what do I really want for my future? Where do I want to be in 20 years? What do I want for my family? And really go through the scenarios of what you truly want. If you don't think about it, who's thinking about it for you? You think AI is thinking about it for you? I don't think so. I know there's a lot of people that talk to AI and ask them these questions. Don't do that. Do it for yourself. All those things matter when it comes to achieving balance and achieving well being in your life.
Thank you for that, Donzel, and also the real life story of how you restored balance with your physical well-being. So I'm curious, as there might be some people on the call who are really wanting to start to define their destiny or determine their success and legacy on their own terms. What would be some first steps that someone could take to be able to define success and legacy on their own terms?
Yeah, well, one of I just kind of talked a little bit about it. So I would say take the time to really think about who you are authentically and what you want. And don't use it as an assumption. "Oh, I already know." I mean, take the time to really think about it and scenario plan. What I did when I was 24 is I literally thought about, I imagined where would I be at 65 and where would I want to be? So I thought 41 years in advance. And I literally did this. And I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down, okay, where would I want my family to be? And what would it look like? What would my family look like? How many years would I have been married at that time? Um, where do I want our financial well-being to be? What would I want to accomplish in my career? And I started writing these things down, imagining I'm 65 years old. And then I looked at it, it's like, does that make sense? It does. Okay, so if I really want to do that, what would I have to be at 60? Where would I have to be at 55? That's kind of how I built my life plan. But the first step really was thinking 40 years down the road. Now, if you can't think 40 years down the road, think 10. Think five. Start there. But you have to get in touch again. Who are you authentically? Because if you don't do that first, you're going to kind of when you think in the future, you're still going to be influenced by what others are telling you or what you think you might want based on what you've seen around. Okay, my brother, he's got this. I should probably have that plan. Think of, get in touch with yourself. Who are you and what do you really want? And then think down the road. Um, I have spent over 50,000 hours in one-to-one meetings. Like just me and one other person talking about them. 50,000 hours, and these are people around the world, not just in one place, around the world. I can tell you 90% of them, when I ask them, where do you want to be? What do you want for your life? And where do you want to be in 20 years? 90% could not answer that question because they never really thought about it. They think about the next day, the next year, maybe, but they couldn't answer that question. So that's the very first thing I would tell you. The second thing I would tell you is start to figure out ways to develop yourself more. There's a stat that 2.5 hours of the average American's time is spent on their phone, mostly scrolling and looking at videos. 2.5 hours. How much time do you think people spend, on average, Americans, on self development? Not looking at on average about 15 minutes on self development, the average American. What if you reverse those things? What if you took a month and just said, I'm going to reverse and I'm going to spend 2.5 hours on my development? And that could be reading on things you don't know, you need to learn, could be maybe learning a language, could be researching your future, could be you just, again, sitting down thinking about your future, could be you exercising. So all those things are self-development, learning more about getting deeper into your financial future. If you spent 2.5 hours a month just doing that, at the end of the month, then say to yourself, if I could strategically plan for this time, do I think I'd have a competitive advantage over anyone else? I think the answer is pretty clear. So those are two things I'd tell you to do.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible to think about how might our lives be different if we invested more time in learning and developing ourselves instead of wasting our time scrolling on our phones. That's amazing. So that's one of the very powerful daily habits that we could incorporate to drive and sustain our inspiration over time. Do you have any other daily habits that you would recommend for those who want to be able to ensure that they're moving toward their destiny?
Yeah, this is the one I really feel passionate about, and it is building your network of passionate supporters. And I'm not talking about creating a social media post that gets thousands of likes. All right, that doesn't mean people support you. That just means that they saw your little thing and click like. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that you're staying connected with that will do whatever they can to help you because they know you will help them. And the reason why that's important is nothing we accomplish in this world or in your lifetime you can do on your own. It ain't gonna happen. Not that's worthwhile. Not if it's worthwhile that you want to accomplish. You're gonna need help from somebody. And the more people that you get that are willing to help you because they know that they can trust you and they know you will help them, the greater this network of passionate supporters grows, and the more the higher the percentage success rate for whatever your life plan goal is meant to be will come to fruition. And I'll just give you a slight example, just little examples on how by building your network and getting more and more diverse perspectives around you that will tell you the truth, but also help you. They have the passion to help you. This week is 1 year since my assistant Andrea Hancock and I started working together. It's been 1 year. It's hard to believe, but this woman was only supposed to be helping me on my calendar. We've never met in person, but Andrea and I just kept reaching out to her, trusting her, giving her, hey, here's everything. I opened the full proverbial book, the book and me, just opened it up. And she started picking up things that I don't think she even knew how to do. She just said, I'm going to figure it out. Like literally, we had to go through the entire book, edit it multiple times, edit graphics, things like this. My graphics expert, it's got a great business that's thriving, Chris Cagle. He was busy. She taught herself how to edit the graphics in the book. One really unique story that I thought was awesome that tells me that reinforced why building a diverse network of passion supporters is important because they will see things you miss and that everyone else misses. In the book, Becky asked me earlier about or maybe she didn't, but I've been doing a lot of podcasts, so maybe it was on a podcast the other day.
Mhm.
But they were asking me about in the book, I have this model of no destiny control where it details different people, the styles of people who aren't moving forward. One of them is what I call the ostrich with their head in the sand. That doesn't want to. They're afraid. They don't want to take any chances, so they just don't do anything. They just put their head down and just don't take chances. Don't have a plan. Don't have hope at all. They just hope that one day things will be better and they'll raise their heads up and it'll all be great. Of course, that never works, right? That's not going to work. But here's the example. I wrote that 4 years ago. It's been in the book ever since. The book's been edited by professional editors and been edited at that time like 3 times. Um, in the book, I literally talk and say the giraffe with the head in the sand, but the graphic is an ostrich. I may have it, maybe it's different. Let's talk about the ostrich, but the graphic was different, something like that. I didn't catch it over 4 years. The professional editors didn't catch it. The description does not match the graphic. I say giraffe, it's an ostrich or something along those lines. Chris, my graphics expert, he knows me so well. He saw that I wrote ostrich, but he drew a giraffe. He saw that I wrote giraffe, but he drew an ostrich in the sand. So he knew what I was saying, but we didn't change it. It wasn't until Andrea came on board and she read the book and she said, she had the courage and trust in me to give me this feedback. She said, look, I'm not sure if this is what you meant, but in the text, it says giraffe. The graphic is an ostrich. Do you think that should be changed? It took 4 years,
Hmm.
all these editors before she caught it. That's the value of having passionate support. I can go on and on about Andrea. I hope she's watching. She is incredible. Thank you and happy 1 year anniversary, Andrea.
Amazing. And Andrea has been a great help to our team as we've worked with you, Donzel. So big thanks to Andrea. We do want to take a moment and let people know if you're on the call today and you're interested in learning more about how to make your destiny happen, here's some ways you can get started. The first is to go ahead and get a copy of the book. I have mine. It's highlighted all throughout. Beautiful hardcover book. Wendy, my colleague who's been helping out on today's event, will put the links in the chat where you can buy the book. You could also invite Donzel to speak at your event or be a guest on your podcast. He would love the opportunity to share his unique insights with your audience. You can follow Donzel for daily motivation on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can subscribe to his newsletter, and you can watch and listen to his podcast, Make Your Destiny Happen Petite Podcast on YouTube and other major streaming platforms. Of course, if you've read the book, we would love your support with an Amazon review, because those Amazon reviews will help other readers to discover the value of the book. So those are just a few ways that you can make your destiny happen. And we do want to now go to some of the questions that have been coming in from all of you. And thank you for your interest and engagement in the event. So here's a question from Cynthia. This is a hard one, Donzel. Cynthia says, intentionally choosing our path is a good plan. My concern is sometimes the word control. That is, we are in control of our destiny. Are we really in control of our life, our destiny?
Yeah, great question, Cynthia. Um, One of the things, first of all, the model, I tried to write the model in a way that recognizes that circumstances change. So destiny, again, in my definition, is what you want for your life. Development means that you continually have to be building your skills, because you have to adapt to the changes that we know happen in this world every second. And then delta, means transformation. So you have to transform. And so we also know that, again, the world is changing. So when I use the word control, it's be the driver of your life. Be the driver of your life. And so, like I mentioned earlier, the reality is that we know there's some things that occur that are outside of our control. That's a reality. Like I mentioned, I mean, I could today, I'm going to fly on a plane that something could happen. That's a reality. I don't know, I go to the doctor, I think I'm healthy, but you never know. Things can happen that are outside of our control. Very tragic things can happen that are outside of control. Just slight decisions that may not even be tragic, but there's people that hold power that could make a decision that causes you to go off kilter or get off your plan. So what I'm saying is not to ignore that there are things that could happen that are outside of your control, and not to pretend like that's not a reality. My point is, you got a choice. You can either say, I'm going to be paralyzed by that and not do anything because nothing's in my control. And it's kind of like learned helplessness. No matter what I do, something's going to happen, it's going to knock me off, or it doesn't really matter anyway because it's all predetermined. My view is, I would rather, this is me, I would rather have a plan, execute my plan or activate my plan, continue to build myself, educate myself, learn, build a network, as many passionate supporters as I can, so that I'm on the path to achieving that destiny. Because if not, what am I living for? That's how I look at it. That's what, so someone asked me, "Wait, how do you feel every morning?" I feel energized every morning to get up and get going because I feel like I'm running out of time. So
Mhm.
I'm living with that reality, Cynthia, that yeah, things could change at any moment, and I might not achieve what I want, but I would rather be on the path because that helps my personal well-being. It makes me feel better about life. It's kind of like, why do people have faith in whether they're Buddhist, whether they're Hindu, whether they're Muslim, or whether they're Christian? Why do they have faith when it's not visible? We don't. None of us know if there's what God exists or if they're, but they have. Why do they have that faith? It makes them feel better. So what I'm saying is, no matter what your faith is, no matter what path you're on, if you at least have thought about what you want, if you build authentic assuredness in yourself, and if you have a plan that you're activating and you're on that path, by definition is going to make you feel better about life. So that's how I look at it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get people to understand and to feel that passion and that wonderment of, I'm in control. Even though we know that we're in a world that we're all going to die. We can't change that. I would rather be on the path of accomplishing when that happens than not. That makes me feel better. And I hope that it would make you feel better too.
Amazing. And I think another way of saying that, and this is something we want to have on like t-shirts or something, you are the leader of your life. I am the
Be the
leader of
leader of
my
your
life.
life.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You are the leader of your life. Be the leader of your life.
All
Don't
right.
leave it in other people's hands or in circumstances' hands.
Yes. So here's a question from Nicole. And I think this is referencing when you and I were speaking about the way, Donzel, that you've been able to overcome difficult relationships and
Yeah.
able to build positive ones. The question is, for the person with low confidence and being pushed away, how do you get through to continue pushing and not shrink?
Yeah. It gets back to, do you have self-assuredness? Do you have, if you have spent the time to build your authenticity and know what you're not great at, what you are good at, and if you then build confidence in yourself, assuredness or authenticity helps us stand and kind of show ourselves, be who we are. But assuredness gives us the confidence because we believe in ourselves and we know, hey, I'm good at this, I'm not good at that. We know what those things are, and we're okay with that. We can stand. And so by being authentic and showing that confidence in ourselves, by showing that persistence, it kind of rubs off on other people. And I'm a believer. Not everyone has this belief, but I am. I'm a believer that inherently most people are good. And my whole sort of ethos is, how do I help bring that goodness out of people? And it's a challenge that I feel good about because I know if I can do that, I'm going to help their lives. I'm going to help them feel better. So it's about you being authentic with yourself, building that assuredness in yourself so that you are coming forward in a way in which, you feel good about. That goodness rubs off on others. And I can tell you again from personal experience that uh, no matter how tough the exterior is on most people, and this may not work on everyone. It's worked for me, but it may not work with everyone. Um, if you continue to be authentic with them and be confident with them, eventually things will break through. But it's a decision you have to make. I mean, there are difficult people in the world who, it may not be worth your time and your effort. So I don't want you to go and feel like, again, don't do what I'm doing. You have to make that call and say, how far do I want to go with this individual? That's a decision you have to make. But the first step, be authentic with yourself, be assured in yourself, and that feeling that you're presenting, people can sense it, and usually, at least for me, it breaks those situations down.
Thank you, Donzel. And I feel like all that comes from something that you say throughout the book, which really stood out to me, is just starting from a place of valuing every person and really honoring
Yeah,
each person's humanity. All right, so here's a comment
absolutely.
from Stephen, sorry. Failure includes the power to fall forward. Therefore, failure is a step from weakness to opportunity and strength. That's a really powerful comment. Thank you, Stephen.
Very powerful,
Question from
Stephen.
Michelle, also referencing Donzel, you talked about the importance of building your network of supportive people. And Michelle wants to know, how do you find these people who can help you?
They're all around. First of all, don't a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that the people that can help you are people who have done better than you, people who are older than you, people who are more established. If we take that lens off, take that off, and recognize that everyone around you, number one, is what you said earlier, Becky, is a valuable individual in and of themselves. Number one. Then number two, everyone around you can help you. They can. And one example I wrote in the book is I was taught investment fundamentals, not by my financial planner, not by a professor in college, by a janitor who worked at where I was. He was I was the manager. He was the lowest guy there. But because I treated him as a person and I got to know him, no one else did. Because they all saw he quit school in eighth grade. He wasn't educated. People thought he was a dumb guy because he could only be a janitor. Um, I treated him as a person, and I just got to know him. And what I found out, this guy was a millionaire. This guy, he knew all about Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, and this was in the late '90s. I had never heard of Warren Buffett. He set me down and took me through financial investment strategy better than anybody had that I had met before. And from that day forward, I was been in charge of my investments, and it changed my financial planning future. But if I would have just said he's a janitor and just, ignored him or just, talked to him, but only about what he does, like as a janitor, it didn't try to, if I didn't see him as a possible mentor, as someone who could be a part of my network, as a passionate supporter, I would have lost that opportunity. And I've got so many more stories like that. So it's back to what I was saying earlier too. Show accessibility and adoration. Treat people with the same dignity that you believe or that they should be treated with. Make them feel like an individual and recognize that they can help you. Everybody knows something that you don't. And as time goes on, you start building this network of people. Sometimes you'll know them actively. Other times it'll be people that you didn't know the impact you made until years later, and you find out that you said something to them that was so positive and uplifted them. And then they told someone else that this guy's a good guy. And then that person told someone else, and all of a sudden this person does something to help you. So start with treating everyone with that respect. Be accessible, show adoration, recognize everybody can help you.
Thank you so much, Donzel. So your friend Tommy, who's with us today, wants to know how you keep yourself so laser focused on your destiny and vision, not distracted by day-to-day churns and setbacks. And do you have any good tips and tricks? Thanks.
Oh, wow. Tommy, thank you so much, man. Tommy's taught me so much himself. I mean, here's a guy who's had to, he speaks like four different languages, speaks them fluently, and just pushes himself very, very hard to be just a great friend and a guy who really does great work. Um, but it's back to, I really have an authentic want to do good things for people. And I feel like I can do good things for people if I continue to strive for my destiny. If I got this book. The more people that I can get this book in the hands of, the more eyes I can get on it, the more people I can help. And that fires me up, Tommy. Hearing it from you, Tommy was the first person to actually read the draft of this book 4 years ago, and it was a bad draft. It was bad. I mean, it was long. It's like 1,000 pages. I mean, God bless Tommy for reading it and giving me feedback on it. So without Tommy, man, I wouldn't have gotten to this point. But hearing Tommy's view on this book can help people. That is what's kept me going. It keeps me inspired. And then when I got a good friend of mine who I hadn't talked to since high school. We're talking 1986. She texted me last night saying how she just finished the book and it's inspiring her on some big career changes that she has to make. And she's reflecting on how this book really is providing her with the context she needs to make some good decisions that need to be made. She wanted to thank me for that. That's why I stay focused. That's
Mhm.
why. It's when I saw a text come on that my friend Jim McKern, I haven't talked to in probably 25 years. He said he's one of them. He's one of the guys that helped provide me with context that was a mentor that I didn't have to see as one. But hearing from Jim, that's what fires me up. So it's not the accomplishments, it's not how many book sales. It's these notes I get back from people. You made an impact on my life. I said this before. I wrote this book. If I could have one person whose life is influenced by this book positively, that's the energy I need to keep going every day. So Tommy, I stay focused and don't let distractions bring me down. And I'm like everyone else. So when I see, oh, I get distracted, I got to get right back because I know that I can help people by spreading this message and getting this book in as many people's hands as I can, speaking in front of as many people as I can, on and on.
Amazing. Thank you, Donzel. I want to let the person who messaged me privately know that I see you, and I want to share this story without sharing the person's name. So, this person says that they can identify with the question about how do you find these people? Because unfortunately, this person has faced some really difficult times getting cut down, getting robbed of their inheritance multiple times, being called black and ugly often. And so as a result, the person is staying away from relatives and people who they've supported for decades and they're rebuilding. And I just want to say we see you and
Yes.
best wishes as you rebuild and the hope that you can find the supporters that you need. And I'm glad you're here with us today.
We're very glad you're here with us. Stay positive, stay strong. Let Keep building your own confidence. Again, everyone, be authentic with yourself. We all have problems. We all have issues. This person really needs our support. And one of the, like I was just saying just now, the more that I can do to support others, and the more that I can do to put this book in people's hands. I say at the end of the book, and I say maybe in multiple places, um, there are people out there who don't have agency, who can't take control of their lives because their circumstances are so difficult. They might be in an abusive relationship where they're controlled. They might be a captive somewhere. They might be in a repressive country government. And so my view is, yeah, not everyone, like the person asked earlier, not everyone is in perfect circumstances. But if I can get this book in one person's hands and it helps them who had the agency to step up and achieve their destiny. And if they can think like me, that our responsibility is the ones who can do our things for ourselves, and then say, what can I do to help others? And if we can do that in 2 people, 10 people, 100 people, and we all not only are on track for our own, but we find the love in our heart to help other people. Eventually, maybe we stop having the stories like this person is going through right now because someone is extending an arm to help them. Someone is making a change. Someone maybe running for office like that is able to change some of the laws, or someone's able to become a lawyer that can help by providing services for folks who need this help. So it's not only achieving your, again, my vision, achieve my goals, but part of my goal is how do I change society by empowering you to get your goals accomplished and then share with others so that they can get better as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Donzel. We're just going to show you one more time some ways that you can get to know more and learn with Donzel. Again, Make Your Destiny Happen is available at all your favorite online retailers. You can go ahead and pick up your copies of the book today. Donzel would love the chance to inspire your audience, whether that's live in person on the stage, a virtual event, or a podcast audience. Um, Encourage you to follow Donzel for motivation every day on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Subscribe to the newsletter, and then watch and listen to Donzel's podcast, streaming on all major platforms. And of course, to review the book on Amazon so that more readers can find the book. As we're wrapping up our hour today, there was one more question that came in at the end that I want to see if you would answer as you wrap up and do your closing
Yeah.
comments, Donzel. Kimberly's wondering how you keep your own well full when you obviously are giving so much to others. And I'll let you close up the event with your thoughts on that question.
Yes, it answers itself. As I mentioned, I'm all about helping other people. And when I hear the stories of people who felt like they've been impacted, it fires me up. It fills my bucket. Now, I can't ignore the fact I have a great wife who also continues to fill my bucket, but also will make sure that I'm realistic and make sure that I'm hearing the truth, which I also need sometimes too. That it's not all peaches and roses out there. There's tough things, and she's a realist, so she's a big part of it. But um, getting the messages and text, like I said, I mentioned before, hearing the stories from people of the impact, hearing how what I've some things maybe I've said or wrote impacted them, or conversations we've had. Those things are what continue to fill my bucket. And now I do other things. Like I said, try to spend as much time as I can, that 2 hours, 2.5 hours on self development, whether it's on working out, or I try to learn something new as much as I can every day. So I do those things as well to keep me sharp. And then I have some downtime as well. So I plan all of that to make sure that I'm keeping myself. But the biggest thing for me is when I hear back from people, like the text I received last night, and some of the comments I've seen in the chat, that fires me up to do more. And so I would encourage you all to contact us on our website. Becky talked about buying the book, but I'd love your comments are what keep me moving forward. And like I said, my objective is not only to achieve my personal, kind of life plan. but it's to do it in a way that uplifts others. If I'm not able to help you all achieve what you want in your lives, I'm feeling like I'm not doing what I should be doing. I want to learn from that lesson. When I played football, I could have done more. I could have done more. Our teams lost, and I could have made an impact because people looked up to me. I don't ever want that to happen again. I will do everything I can to uplift as many people as possible to achieve their objectives and to be positive change agents in this world. We need it now more than any other time. We need it. And I'm going to do my part to uplift as many people as possible to make positive change happen.
Amazing, Donzel. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for investing time to learn with us today.